He accidentally knocked over the toy figurine on the table. A dull thud came from outside the door. His only friend had left him, just like that, without any warning. Not long after, a lawyer sought out Finn. His friend had left him his property and a railway station house. Finn had endured a lifetime of mockery from others. Having lost his only friend, he decided to leave this bustling place that never felt like his own. He followed the railroad tracks, walking for who knows how long, until a dilapidated white wooden cabin came quietly into view beside the rails. After the long journey, Finn had finally found a small sanctuary of his own. When the next day's sunlight streamed into the room again, Finn was startled awake by a noise outside the door. He stepped out of the cabin and saw a young man with his hot dog stand. The man was curious about Finn's sudden appearance, but also full of warmth and enthusiasm. In this remote countryside, Simone had finally become his neighbor, but Finn, with his reclusive nature, didn't want much contact with a stranger. He walked aimlessly along the quiet country road, searching for something he had always lacked. Just then, a car swerving as if drunk headed straight for him. Sensing the danger, Finn leaped into the grassy ditch beside the road. A woman hurried over to check if Finn was okay. Feeling apologetic, she offered him a ride, but Finn firmly declined. He went to the town supermarket, where his short stature once again drew the owner's curiosity.
Hey, yoo-hoo!
He was long accustomed to such impolite remarks from others. Laden with grocery bags, he walked back. At that same corner, Finn saw the same suspicious car. Sure enough, the car swerved and headed for him once again, forcing Finn to view this woman with increased wariness. Finn didn't care for her apologies, he just wanted to get away from there as quickly as possible. Back home, Joe enthusiastically invited Finn to town for a drink. But for Finn, today had been a truly terrible day. To avoid another encounter with the woman, Finn chose to walk along the railway tracks this time. A little girl suddenly appeared, following him. Finn took the initiative to greet her.
Hi.
But when the girl saw Finn's face, she panicked and dashed into the woods by the tracks. That evening, the woman knocked on Finn's door. She was deeply sorry about the daytime incidents, and had brought a bottle of champagne to congratulate him on his new home. The unexpected visit created an awkward atmosphere in the cabin. Trying to break the silence, the woman kept complimenting the old furniture inside. Through their conversation, Finn learned her name was Olivia. That night, Olivia learned of Finn's past struggles, and she, in turn, unreservedly shared her own, how she had lost her son 2 years ago. It was because of this tragic accident that Olivia could never forgive her husband. The next morning, Olivia woke up to find herself still at Finn's place. She hurriedly left the cabin and was spotted by Joe. He sought out Finn with a knowing smirk, casually probing for details about him and Olivia. Just then, Olivia's phone, which she had left on the sofa, rang. Finn had no way to explain the situation. Using the address Joe provided, Finn found Olivia's house. He left the phone at her doorstep and slipped away quietly. He then went to the library, hoping to borrow a book to pass the time, but he didn't have a library card, which posed a problem for the clerk. Just then, Olivia appeared unexpectedly. She offered to use her name to borrow the book for him, but Finn once again declined her help. When he returned home later, he found that very book waiting for him on his doorstep. For the first time, Finn felt the warmth of a friend's kindness. Finn was sitting quietly on a town bench, reading his book, when Olivia spotted him while passing by. When she bought coffee, she mentioned it to Joe. Hearing this, the perpetually bored Joe insisted that Olivia take him to find Finn. Before getting out of the car, Joe thanked Olivia on Finn's behalf for the book. But Finn had another reason for reading there. Every time a train passed, Finn would note the exact time down to the second and commit it firmly to memory. That was just the kind of meticulous. On the walk back, Joe was in a chatty mood again, while Finn responded with non-committal grunts. They ran into Olivia once more. Joe, complaining of a sore foot, asked Olivia for a ride. Feeling a bit awkward, Olivia glanced at Finn and ultimately agreed. Back at the cabin, Joe specially grilled pork chops for them both. But before he could even take a bite, Joe got a call from his father. His sick father couldn't find his medication, so Joe had to rush off after a hurried goodbye. After Joe left, the two of them were left standing in awkward silence. Olivia lived alone for years. She initiated conversation, asking Finn about his dreams. Finn told her he wanted to make a film about chasing a train, but he lacked a camera and didn't know how to drive, so his dream had remained on hold. After their brief chat, silence fell over the dinner table once again. From that day on, Joe started abandoning his hot dog stand daily. He would join Finn, reading together, noting train times together, walking the rails together. They seemed to be searching for something, yet it all felt wonderfully mundane. When they passed that abandoned train engine again, the little girl called out to them. It turned out that after hearing about Finn's dream, Olivia had decided to give Finn her old camera. Not finding him home, she had entrusted the message to the girl nearby. To thank Olivia for her kindness, they specifically invited her to join their activities. Just like that, they got to know each other better, and the friendship among the three of them deepened and flourished. When tired, they simply sat on the ground, and Finn generously shared his beef jerky. Sometime later, they returned to Finn's cabin, watching the children playing in front of the house. All three were reminded of their own childhood innocence, and Joe couldn't resist joining in the fun. But seeing this unavoidably made Olivia think of her own son, and a wave of sadness washed over her. Struggling to control her emotions, she said a quick goodbye to Finn and hurried away. With Olivia's help, Finn finally started working on his dream project. Joe drove his food truck, racing parallel to the train. The thrill of their first attempt to film the train was undeniable. The next day, the two couldn't wait to show Olivia their footage. The film was a bit simple, perhaps even boring, but smiles lit up everyone's faces. In that moment, surrounded by friendship, they were experiencing one of the best times of their lives. All three were individuals in a lonely world, each craving lasting connection. But their prolonged solitude had made them somewhat particular. Perhaps the meeting of these three souls was destined. Spending time together taught Finn a sense of humor.
I wanted to live near Joe.
That night they had steak, drank red wine, and each gradually drifted off to sleep in a pleasantly tipsy state. But the next morning, Finn was startled awake by a knock at the door. Olivia's ex-Jan husband had shown up unannounced. He had wanted to talk things over with Olivia calmly, but the sight before him turned what was meant to be a peaceful conversation into a heated argument. And from that day on, Finn and Joe never saw Olivia again. Even if they spotted her on the road, she would pretend not to hear them and speed away. Finn went to check on Olivia, bringing some supplies. Olivia just took the items without inviting him inside. Finn guessed that perhaps his presence was disrupting Olivia's attempt at a normal life. Without Olivia, the two men felt dejected. Joe suggested going to a bar for a drink. Surprisingly, the usually reserved Finn agreed this time. But Finn waited at the bar for a long time, and Joe never showed up. Just as he was about to leave, he ran into Emily, the librarian. She warmly invited Finn to have a drink with her. Feeling stood up and downhearted, Finn accepted without hesitation. As they were chatting animatedly, Emily confided in Finn that she was pregnant. Besides herself, only Finn knew this secret. She was even afraid to tell her boyfriend. Finn, knowing little about romantic relationships, could only listen quietly. When they left the bar, they unfortunately ran into Emily's boyfriend. The oblivious boyfriend shoved Emily to the ground. Finn rushed to intervene, but what could his small stature truly protect anyone from? In that moment, Finn felt a profound sense of helplessness. He could only choose to leave to avoid a greater conflict. Long years of solitude had taught him to hide his emotions, only letting them out in private. Another day, Joe apologized to Finn for missing their plans due to his father's illness. Finn, still upset, wouldn't accept the apology.
What the fuck, man? I said I was sorry. What more do you want from me?
I want to be left alone, Joe. Okay?
From that day on, Joe and his food truck no longer appeared outside Finn's door. Finn returned to his former quiet and loneliness. The sudden departure of friendship made Finn unaccustomed to the solitude again. He sat outside Olivia's house every day, hoping to see her again. After days of waiting, Finn finally saw Olivia arguing with her ex-husband. After the brief quarrel, silence fell. Finn, his heart pounding, walked up the steps. He intended to offer comfort, but was met with strong resistance from Olivia.
Are you all right?
You're not a child. Get off the fucking porch and leave me alone.
Olivia's words cut Finn deeply. He went to a bar to drown his sorrows alone. Patrons whispered about the short-statured Finn behind his back. The surrounding noise and Finn's isolation created a stark contrast. He was tired of being judged, and his long-suppressed feelings finally erupted.
Here I am! Take a look!
In truth, people were capable of understanding him, but under the influence of the majority, the minority often just follows the crowd. Drunk and disoriented, Finn stumbled and fell onto the railroad tracks. Watching the train approach from afar, Finn didn't flinch or panic. Instead, he smiled with a sense of release. Perhaps he could finally leave this world he never felt part of. But the next day, Finn woke up to find himself completely unharmed. Only his pocket watch, the one he used to record train times, was shattered to pieces. Maybe it was a sign telling him not to waste time on meaningless things, and that a new beginning was right before him. Finn mustered his courage and went to Olivia's house again, only to find her unconscious from a drug overdose. In the 2 years since losing her child, Olivia had been unable to forgive her ex-husband, and unable to forgive herself.
I want Sam back.
Following Finn's suggestion, Olivia went to the hospital for psychiatric treatment. Finn come to Olivia's house and began cleaning. He hoped that when Olivia was discharged, recovered, she could regain her strength and welcome a new life. It was then that he noticed a note Joe had left on the table. Without hesitation, he dialed Joe's number. On the day of her discharge, the two men sat on a bench, waiting together to welcome the reborn Olivia. They sat on the loungers as they used to. No one said, "I am sorry," as if nothing had ever happened, and yet everything felt renewed in the unspoken understanding. That forgotten station cabin, like a small sanctuary in a noisy world, held the sweetness and bitterness of three lonely souls. Finn, small in stature, carried a weight unimaginable to most. Joe's bitterness dissolved into the foam of each beer bottle. Olivia's tear swear hidden within the frames of her paintings by the strokes of her brush. Redemption isn't always a dramatic transformation. Sometimes, it's realizing on an ordinary afternoon that you've learned to smile, despite your scars. Unexpectedly, when loneliness met loneliness, it sparked a warm flame, aren't we? In reality, also wandering through life, carrying our own loneliness and sorrows. The most touching encounters in this world aren't when beauty meets beauty, but when brokenness recognizes brokenness. And when three lonely souls chose to let go, I heard the sound of hearts thawing. A great movie for a wonderful you. I am Owen. We'll see each other next time.